Good evening.
Call the February 13th Utilities meeting to order. Mr. Lambert, would you please lead us in the invocation, followed with the pledge?
Sure. Let's all bow our heads and give our soldiers and the folks from New Orleans a moment of silence. Thank you. Dear Lord, thank you for this wonderful day. Please give us the strength, the wisdom, run our sewer, wastewater department here. We ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
I ask for 2/3 to put parish-wide wastewater update on the agenda.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Shea Snyder, second by Mr. Salvoy. Any objection? We'll take that as 4A. Ms. Cinnamon, please let the record reflect that Mr. Thompson is not here. Public comment period. Anyone wishing to speak, please sign a speaker card with the secretary. We'll take it up at that agenda item. 4, Country Ridge funding, and also update Mr. Chris Young, followed by Ms. Martha Collins. And Mr. Chris Young is from Montgomery Watson.
Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to be here. Provide just a briefing on where we are with the project. Plans, details for the sewer rehab that's going on within the collection system in Country Ridge, and also the manholes, about 90% complete at this point. Working on the technical specifications, front-end documents as well. And then also proceeding with analysis of the pump station and options to move forward with addressing the design on that, with either replacement of the pump station or replacements of the pumps and the piping at the existing station right now. So, any questions?
Mr. Salvo?
Yeah, Chris, and you may not know this, but are we watching the movement in Washington as far as Senator Vitter trying to get some construction dollars put into this program that he's got going? I mean, up to this point, it's pretty much been studies and minor things, but I'm of the understanding that he's supposed to be trying to get some construction dollars put in to this project. Do you know?
I don't have knowledge of that, and if it's a grant funding related question, I might.
Yeah, Ms. Collins is going to speak out to she'll probably.
Okay. So.
Yes, Mr. Shea Snyder?
Have you determined what's the cause of the problem now? I mean, is that what we're going to have on your report here?
Yes, sir. Part of what we looked at in the Phase 1, which was the analysis of the collection system, was the condition of the sewers themselves, the manholes. What we're coming up with now are recommended fixes on those as far as point repairs within the sewer collection system, lining of the manholes, for example, and then also on the pump station itself, looking at the configuration and trying to come up with some solutions that will prevent the system from surcharging as much as it does now, backing up from the wet well up into the collection system. So yes, sir, that's part of our design.
When can people expect some improvement on that?
I don't know if I can answer that question just yet. We do expect, though, that we will be bidding the project sometime later this spring, and then construction to follow that. Construction schedule hadn't been set yet, but construction should proceed later in the spring.
Mr. Rue or Mr. Smiley, when can someone expect improvement in their services there?
So again, the key thing is the funding for it. If the council provides funding, probably to the tune of $250,000, commit to the funding, then we can probably be going, like you said, by midsummer to construction. But again, when we come back with the plan or with the recommendations, then it'd be up to the council to say you have the money to spend $250,000 if we're not able to get it from any other source. So it comes back to the funding issue.
Okay.
Yes. Mr. Chris, Mr. Rue alluded to around 250. With being 90% through with design, is that going to be close, 250, 300?
Yeah, really, I think what's at question there, that's certainly going to be close on the sewer collection system, which is going to be the fixes, the point repairs on the sewer lines themselves and the manholes.
Take care of the infiltration.
That's right, inflow and infiltration. That's going to help address. I think what's really at question beyond that is what type of funding is going to be required to address the pump station. Really the options on the table at this point are to replace the pumps that are there, and some of the piping would be a much less expensive fix versus obviously going to an entire pump station replacement.
What's the downside fixing it versus new?
The downside is that it's likely to continue to surcharge the system a little bit. But that's obviously a lot less expensive fix. And as far as how much it would continue to surcharge the system, I don't have that answer at hand tonight. I'd be glad to get that answer for you, if that's kind of what it comes down to, and what type of level or distance upstream in the system it's going to surcharge.
Now, do you have any estimated cost on the two fixes? Because that'll be important in our decision making. I mean, naturally, we'd like to have brand new, but we may not be able to.
Certainly. So, at this point, the budgetary construction estimate we had come up with to go with an entire pump station replacement would be an additional $250,000 beyond what Mr. Rue just mentioned. As far as the estimate to just replace a couple of pumps and piping, I don't have those numbers at hand, but I could expect within a week we could have those for you.
Okay. Mr. Savoy, Mr. Savoy, you had something?
Yeah, I'd like to get on to the existing operation of the facility right now. Did we not just change out a pump?
Hope Villa, not
Country Ridge.
Oh, that was Hope Villa we changed out?
Correct.
Hey.
Now, the system at Country Ridge is the original system, I think, that's been there.
Well, pretty old if it's not
Yes.
original. Mr. Rue?
No,
Mr. Savoy, you finished?
Yes, sir. I mean, I'm finished, but I do have questions on Hope Villa, but since it's not on the agenda,
No, we'll
I'll
take
catch
that
it
up later.
No, I just wanted to reiterate what Montgomery Watson was saying, is the fact that this $250,000 is what we call the first phase, which is the bare necessity of fixing the collection system, and then another $250 if you're going to do it right and change the wet wells and the pumps. So it's you got again, if you can fund all of it, that's the best way to go. If you can't, then you're looking at least the $250 is mandatory on the first phase.
Any other comments, questions?
That's all I do have a question for Ms.
Yeah, we're going to get to Ms. Malta next. Mr. Chris, give us a timeline for finish when you're going to need answers on repairing or replacing your lift station or pump station, whatever you call it.
Certainly. You talking about a timeline to finish our design, you're saying?
Well, for us to make a decision, because you can't finish the design until we have a decision, correct?
Well, certainly if there wasn't funding in place, obviously, to go with an entire pump station replacement, it would certainly make sense for us just to call for the replacement of the pumps. The best estimate I could give you at this point is within the next several weeks. I would say by the end of February we would need to know that, as we're going into March to finalize the contract documents. Need a decision about that point.
Okay.
And I would recommend, Mr. Chairman, that probably at the next utility meeting, this subject will come up, and you'll have to make a decision by the next meeting.
Okay. Ms. Cinnamon, also before I forget, can you make sure that Hope Villa Estates is put on the next agenda for Mr. Salvo? Any other questions for Mr. Young? Thank you, Mr. Young.
Thank you.
Ms. Martha?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I have two things to bring to you tonight. One of them is a subcontract agreement with UNO and the parish. This is dealing with Country Ridge. It's like Pontchartrain restoration money. It has gone through the council for approval. This is a contract that needs to be signed by the parish president for a total of $70,000. This is actually the second phase of Country Ridge design, which Chris and them are working on right now. So I need a resolution to go to the full council authorizing the parish president to sign this document, and Ms. Gwen LeBlanc also being able to sign any financials.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Shakespeare, second by Mr. Lambert. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion carries.
The other one is an update on the Louisiana, it's called LAGAP, it's Louisiana Government Assistance, where we applied for $100,000 for Country Ridge for construction money. The funding that we got from Lake Pontchartrain is only engineering. This would be the first funding mechanism that we could do for construction. I was advised today that the awards letters will go out by the end of February. I was told that Ascension Parish has 3 applications, one from the parish, one from Sorrento, and one from, I believe, Donaldsonville. There is a cap on the funding for the entire parish, so we will see where we lay. And since there are 3 applications in, we applied for $100,000 of that. I think the cap was maybe $135,000 or $145,000. So that gives us an estimate about what we're going to look to. But we would have an award letter by the end of February. So that would give us some funding for construction to start.
Okay.
And that's through the Community Development Block Grant. So, and Mr. Savoy, in relationship to the funding with Vitter's office on the Lake Pontchartrain restoration funding, all of the money so far and all the funding cycles have been only for engineering. And the next phase, or the phase after, we're going to go to construction dollars, is what they were planning on doing. So up until now, we could not apply for any construction dollars. And the New River restoration was applied for the same time we did Country Ridge, but we were not granted that funding. So that will be another one we will put back on the application process for the next funding cycle for finishing the engineering portion of that. And if construction funds are available, then we'll go with the next one for Country Ridge also. But I'll be happy to follow that up with his office.
Mr. Shakespeare?
Martha, there's matching funds on this
On
for the construction phase that you talked about that we applied for the 100?
no, not on that one. The UNO contract with it's actually an EPA grant that goes through UNO, and then we have a contract with UNO. There is a match. I think it's $350. No, I'm sorry, $3,500. That's a few dollars more of what we have to come up with, and that's in kind. So there's no. That's the only match that we're working on right now.
Anything else? Mr. Salvo?
Just for the council's information, like Martha said, up to this point, the New River Restoration Project has only been to fund engineering funding. But in talking with Senator Vitter a couple of years ago, he was going to work toward getting some capital dollars in. We have our NACO conference coming up at the beginning of March. I think this would be a good opportunity to encourage Senator Vitter to work very diligently trying to move some monies into the capital
To
phase,
construction.
capital construction phase of it. So that's something for us to remember going up to Washington. That's all I got.
And I will check with his office and tell him that y'all will be discussing that with him, so they'll have a little heads up on the funding on that.
You gonna handle that? Any other questions for Ms. Collins?
That's all.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next, we have a parish-wide sewer update. Mr. Rue, I believe, is going to give that.
Well, I can start it, and I'm going to ask Mr. Mura or Mr. Falcon Hall to come in and help me out a little bit. Basically, where we're at now is they're doing a business plan and finishing the design of the force main to the river of the plant. The design of the plant is completed, of the comprehensive wastewater plant. And they're finishing the engineering on the force main to the river and also the first phases of the collection system. And like I said, in addition to that, the business plan taking us through at least 20 years of operations. And we're waiting on that. However, as soon as they finish the collection design and the force main design, then we need money. Just like we're talking about the other wastewater problems, we're going to need funding. And so far right now, we haven't identified any more funding. And again, we will need funding in the tune of at least $7 to $10 million to get the thing kicked off, at least that. And Roland, y'all, Mr. Hull, you know anything else going on with the funding through the Corps? Yes, sir.
As indicated by Bill, we are in the process of completing the business plan. The business plan will be completed in March. In that business plan, we will identify potential funding sources for how to fund construction of the wastewater treatment plant on the East Bank, located adjacent to Lamar-Dixon, as well as the force main going to the river. We have completed the design of the wastewater treatment plant, at least the first phase of that plant, 1.5 million MGD. We have started designing part of the collection system in the Grand Gardine area, and the system will be ready to start construction probably sometime in 2008, depending on funding levels. We will identify potential funding sources for you. It appears that the first phase is going to be around $20 million. We've identified some federal funding sources, as well as possibly some low-interest loans from EPA as a possible way to fund the first phase of the project.
Any questions? Mr. Sabo?
Yeah, are we talking about the main force line coming from Lamar-Dixon going to?
It's going from just north of Lamar-Dixon via the Ashland Road route to the river. Of course, we're still negotiating and talking to Oxy and several other plants, Shell, on the particular route going that way.
But are we talking about getting the force main up to the 30 acres that's been donated from BASF? Yes. Is that donation been finalized, and is it in the parish's name?
It has not, and one of the reasons is I think, to be honest with you, I think some of it's political, and the other part is funding. What BASF would like for us to do is have the funding available to go into construction. What they don't want to do is donate land and it sit there for a lot of years, and there's no funding to actually build the plant.
Okay, so we've been studying and engineering a route for main force to go where?
To go to the Mississippi River.
No, the other end.
Oh, go to the Grand Gardine area collection system basin, and that the reason for that is to try to collect, get into where all of the density is, the major density of the parish, so we can get a revenue source coming in, so you can go ahead and expand your system throughout most of the parish. Again, this is where the density is, and that's the first route to go.
Where are we talking about putting the plant?
The plant is still planning on putting it on the BASF property.
All right. Where's Plan B? What is Plan B? Site, secondary site.
There's two other plans. The next plan is a possibility across LA 30 on Mr. Kazafi's property, and the other site is south of Lamar Dixon, just south of toward the end of St. Landry Road.
And these three sites are compatible to the work that Mr. Hull is in the process of doing.
The
Yes,
plant,
the work that we're doing would be applicable to either site. The only modification you would have to make would probably be to the outfall to the river, what path that would take to the river. But in terms of being compatible to the potential sites that identified, the design of the plant certainly will be compatible.
Okay.
You finished?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Salvo? Excuse me, Shakespeare.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bill, how much have we spent so far on this?
I think Mr. Hull might be able to answer
Hull,
some of that.
Can you tell me how much we spent so far?
I don't have the numbers with me, but I can certainly provide you that in the next week or
Ballpark.
two.
Ballpark figure?
I wouldn't venture to guess how much money we spend on the design of the plant, correct?
Yes.
You talking about the parish portion share, or the total amount? In fact, we can
the
give
total
you,
amount.
we can give you
it's
both.
our money.
We can give you all of it, but I forgot myself exactly what the numbers are.
Well, and I'm just thinking from the standpoint, here we are, we spent considerable amount, probably $1 million,
No, we didn't spend that much,
$500,000.
probably.
Yeah,
okay.
I think so.
We spent $500,000 on design, but we still don't have a site, and then we're looking for monies to come in for something that we're designing that we don't own the site, and I'm trying to figure out somebody that's going to give us some money for something that we don't own. And, it's catch-22 again, that here we go, we don't have the land because they say we don't have the money to build something. We're not going to get the money to build something if we don't own the land. And, I just think we need to push through as fast as we can to try to find a site that we can call our own so that we can finish up design and ask for some money, and we'll know what we're getting into. We need some options here. I would certainly love for it to be the site that was offered, that I thought was going to be there, but if not, we need to move on and find something.
Well, the only thing I can say on that is that we took the BASF plant manager, for his word, that there would not be any problem donating the property. In fact, they gave us authority to go on it and survey it and take some samples, core samples of the land so we can start designing our plant. They allowed us to do this because we had to go through them to even enter the property. When it comes down to the actual donation, well, then we have not been able to get them to commit to just say as of a certain date they will sign the papers. And it's so much that we can do. We're still hoping to get it, and they did not say to us that we could not get it.
Did they give you some papers to sign that said that whenever you achieve funding, you would be granted the property?
Everything has been verbal to this point.
Could we ask them for that then? Ask them to sign papers. If that's the conditions, then let's ask them to sign papers that as we receive funding for building something, we can get some land, because I think that's important. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions, comments? Mr. Chairman. Mr. Lambert?
Bill, how many acres are we looking at on the north side of Highway 30?
There's a total of about 70 acres or so, and they originally committed half of it, roughly 35 acres, and there was at one time a possibility of getting more, maybe all of it, but certainly 35 acres is the minimum from that site.
Total. So what we're looking at, another 30 from BASF?
Well, they own a total, all the land north of Lamar-Dixon, if you notice the wooded land, it goes from one road all the way to the other, from Ashland Road all the way to St. Landry, and that's roughly 70 acres total. And again, we had a pretty good commitment on at least 30 acres, half of it on the Ashland Road side. But there were some talks and at least insinuation that there's a possibility of getting all 70 acres. But again, it's all verbal, and all been in talks between the plant manager and mostly myself and Mr. Mira and a few other people at the Corps.
Anything else? Thank you, Mr. Hull. 5, resident project representative calls for Heroeville wastewater project, URS. Mr. Kent Israel.
Kent, you have the paperwork on it? I didn't bring it with me. What it is, this is, has to do with Heroeville RPR resident project representative. And in the past, going back a few years, there's always been the at least the custom for the design engineer to provide the resident project representative for all construction projects. Since URS came on board several years ago, we started, especially with the road program, started switching it over where the resident project representative, which is totally the inspection of the project, was handled by URS. And we pay URS for these services. If you wish to provide URS to provide these services for Heroeville, then the cost that's recommended by URS is $120,000 for the term of that project. That's putting a man out there every day during the whole term of the project. So it's coming before you to see if that's your wishes, or the other alternative, what we did before, is DPW would provide a person out there part of the time. We could either do that, or we could put a DPW man out there full time. So again, this is several options that we're bringing to you to make a decision on.
Mr. Shake Snyder, you have a question, comment?
Well, that was my other question. Where is it?
It's stapled to your agenda, I think.
Okay. How much would it cost? What did we do in the past? I mean, I think we need to have independent inspection.
What we did on Darrow was actually we had part-time from GSA inspection and part-time from DPW supervisor out there inspecting. I really don't recommend that. If we're going to do anything at all, we need to do it one way or the other. It's a man from DPW dedicated out there, or a person from URS dedicated out there.
And what is the size of this, total size of this project?
I think it's 1.6 million.
1.6, 1.7 million.
Okay. Then that's what we brought them on for. If you don't have any other suggestions for them doing all of the inspection and cutting the costs, then I would move that we would do this as recommended.
A motion by Mr. Shake Snyder.
I'll second. I know Mr. Thompson's absent tonight, but have you heard anything from him, Bill, on this?
No, sir.
Motion by Mr. Shake Snyder, second by Mr. Lambert. Mr. Salvard, discussion.
Yeah, Bill, I need some help on this right here, because we're talking about a $1.6 million project, and we're going to pay $120,000 for an inspection. I didn't have time to crunch no numbers or anything. I'm not comfortable with $120,000. I think that's rather high, personally. But for the sake of discussion and letting it move forward until I do, I am not comfortable with $120,000 for this project.
And I say the other option is to have a man work directly for DPW, an inspector, and have them dedicated to that job.
Well,
You know, you're looking at probably with benefits and everything else. If you look at dedicating a man, we're probably looking at the $80,000 to $90,000 range for a year.
Is that good? Oh, I'm sorry.
You know, that's with benefits.
That's
and
the thing
all.
about it. It's not a year.
You know.
The end of the current engineering contract period is October 7th, 07. We're in the middle of February. The river's up. There's a minimum of what you can do for the next 30, 45 days for sure, as far as needing any inspection. So it's not a year. That's what's throwing
And
me
that's
off.
why I'm
Until I have a chance to crunch the numbers, I'm not comfortable. Just I'll let it go for tonight until it goes to the full council. By that time, unless you plan on putting it on, you're not putting it on for this Thursday. It'll be the following meeting. That'll give me time to look at the. That's all I got, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Shakespeare.
To add to that, Bill, can you give us some written numbers as to the alternative costs and what it would be? And if you do DPW, is that going to be an engineer that's going to be in? Or let me redirect the question. Mr. Israel,
Yes.
you would have an inspector that would be an engineer that would be inspecting?
No.
That
It would
be
not
a
be an
guy that does
engineer.
inspections.
It'd be an construction inspector.
Okay. And that's what we would have, Bill? We'd have comparable?
We have, yes, sir. We have somebody experienced in that type of work, working for DPW directly.
And
That's what, yeah.
may I
Yeah.
comment? that
Yes,
this
sir.
is a maximum fee based on 40-hour weeks plus travel time to the job site.
By maximum, you mean there's room for negotiations?
No, I didn't. I meant that if we's not all used, that it would just be part of our overall contract. It's not a specific item. It's just upping the original contract for the parish by this amount. We are all providing inspection services right now for the 2005 road program, and this would just be upping that total.
You still, Mr. Shakespeare still has the floor.
All right, so what you're telling us is that we would be paying by the hour
Yeah.
up to the $120,000 if it would be, as Mr. Savoy says, till October,
Yes.
and the hours would be reduced, it would be less money.
Well,
Is that what
the
you're saying?
hours are calculated up to October 7th.
Okay.
Right now, URS has a contract of $300,000 with the parish
All right.
for engineering services. We would increase that amount up to $420. If it's not used on inspection services, it could be used on other things, other services that we provide to the council.
Okay.
Mr. Shakespeare, Savoy.
Yeah, we need to let the verbiage show in the document, because the verbiage that he's talking about as far as payment is not reflected in what I'm looking at here, because what we're looking at here is $120,000. Okay,
That's right.
So-
And what Mr. Israel is saying is that, again, it's authorization, the actual motion, if in fact this is what you choose to do, and if it goes to the full council. The motion would be to increase the contract that URS has with the parish up to $120,000 more than what it currently is. Now, again, if this is a total amount, just like it's $300,000 now, or what with change, at the end of the year, it may be that total billing may come out to $250,000 on all their other services. However, they can't go over $300,000 unless we come back to you. And that's why they're coming in and saying another $120,000 increase in their contract. It's an amendment to that contract, increasing it by $120,000.
You finished, Mr. Savoy?
Yes, sir.
Any other comments, questions? Mr. Rue, I got a couple. What's customary for inspection, percentage-wise? You know, engineering goes off of percentages. What's customary for inspection?
Well, usually that's pretty much an add-on unless you get a lump sum. But a lot of times, what we've been doing is paying anywhere between, well, we started out at $55 an hour, $45 an hour. And I think it's up to like 55 or maybe more now. It's going up.
Do they have a curve like engineers use, or
not really?
Surely somewhere we got to have some kind of.
We've always paid by the hour, and you figure the term of the contract, 40 hours a week, basically number of days of the when the contract is due to be completed, and then you just a simple multiplication to get an estimate of the cost.
Right.
But it varies.
Okay.
And most of the time in the past it actually went over what was estimated because of overtime and other conditions or extension of the contract. Project.
Certainly we have some customary numbers that we've used in the past or recent history.
We can produce something as a percentage of the contract.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, we just need to, there's some question. I think it'd be wise to have a comparison.
But we've been using just the number of $55 an hour for the term of the contract. That's how we were estimating it in the past.
Okay. And we put extra money into this because it was over budget, correct? Mm-hmm. Now, in the engineer's estimates and actual bid, was this covered, or this is an additional $120,000 to what we already put in?
Additional.
Okay. So we never did anything with inspections.
Again, when we went back to the Darrell project, we paid part of it to GSA, and we actually came back and had to increase that because of the amount of time they spent over there. And our own inspector was figured into it. But of course, our own inspector was already paid a salary per year and figured into our maintenance. So where he spent time out there, it didn't reflect into the contract itself.
Yeah, but it was still a hard cost.
It's a hard, not really a hard cost because he's doing other things too. He would make inspections out there and then go about his normal routine, performing his other duties, and probably if in fact your recommendation is to hire DPW, have somebody representing us out there from DPW, well, then we would utilize that person on other duties in addition to being a project representative out there. When they couldn't work or something was rain or the high water or whatever going on, we would utilize that person somewhere else.
Any other comments, questions? Mr. Sabo?
Yeah, I do. Bill, can we get, I'd like to see the credentials of our inspecting department personnel in terms of what kind of schooling they got, what kind of training they got, what kind of experience they got in the particular fields of electrical, plumbing, or structural, or anything like that. Just from my personal knowledge, I'd like to know what they're capable of. Really, how far can they go out? You understand what I'm saying?
Right. And in the past project, of course, Barry handled the Darrell project, and that's the only inspection services we had for the parish at that time. Now, though, we have two other people working in the wastewater program, the wastewater department. Both of them are licensed in the collection of wastewater systems, but they are not really licensed or have a lot of experience in inspection of construction. So what we're looking at doing is, if in fact you want us to do it or DPW to do it, we'll look at their qualifications. If they're not able to handle it, we just hire an inspector that has the ability to do that and has experience in it, and just hire them on with DPW.
Okay. Mr. Shake Snyder.
Mr. Rue, obviously the last time, if we had people inspecting, they wasn't on site 8 hours a day. And Mr. Israel, you said we were inspecting the road project. Do we have an inspector on site 8 hours a day?
Yes. Whenever the contractor's working, we have an inspector.
They're working there. All right. Is it normal that you would have inspectors for maybe 4 hours out of the day that you would have it, and then that covers
in the
job?
In the wastewater construction, collection center like this, I don't really think it's necessary to have a full-time 8-hour a day, a 10-hour a day inspector. If in fact you had somebody qualified working for DPW that could go on a routine basis several times a day, in critical times. When you get into the road project, but then when they pour an asphalt, and they've got a lot of things going on that you really need somebody on top of it, because once it's poured, you could lose a lot of the regulation. You get caught up in it after you pour. You don't know what's going on. So it's a little bit different. We feel a little bit different in a road project when you pour an asphalt than when you're in a construction phase of a wastewater. We could have a person, I think, several hours a day going back and forth to that site, and feel safe that that we're protected, parish protected. So again, if you would ask us to put a man out there, we utilize that person out there whenever necessary, but use him at other locations too.
And again, is that something that you guys would do also?
Well, we would provide somebody as many hours as needed for the contract. If the contractor is doing something that doesn't require inspection, then our inspector would most probably go home. But if he's pouring concrete or setting grade, our inspector would be out there.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, if I don't see any reason why on a wastewater project that you can't get an inspector to average about 4 hours or so a day, and you should be able to get a good inspection report from that, and then that would kind of give us a little leeway on the contracts and the money, that we could save enough money there.
If they could hire somebody on a part-time basis, I don't know if that's from a contract basis it's practical to do something.
Let me make a comment if you don't mind. Go ahead, finish.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. If I think it's obvious, all of us believe that that's high to get inspector, and on wastewater, it's really not necessary to have one all the time. But we also want to have some type of independent inspection on all of these jobs. So, if you can come up with another scenario or something that would help us, instead of, we were given one choice up here.
Right. I tell you what, this is, if you would ask me what would I rather, and again, I'm not in DPW anymore officially, and I'm not running the wastewater systems anymore. But the fact of the matter is, all of our subdivision inspections and all of infrastructure for subdivisions is in need of more inspection, and in need of more inspectors. What I would recommend is to allow us to hire up a couple more inspectors who can go out there again, you can have 2 inspectors even. Go out there and make periodic inspections of that construction site, but at the same time assist our subdivision inspector on subdivisions doing the exact same thing. It's the same construction type work going on. And right now we only have one person handling multiple supervision of subdivisions right now. And he's way over his head. It's too much work for that one person, and we really need to hire a couple more inspectors to help him out. So what I would recommend is for us to move forward in that direction. When this construction is over with, we still have 2 more people to assist the subdivision inspector on work that's not getting any less. We got more subdivision coming online and being recommended every day.
Well, we're going to have more wastewater projects also.
And more wastewater. So I tell you, I'll go on a limb right now and say that's what I would recommend to this committee, is to allow us to hire 2 more inspectors.
Yeah, but we can't do that. That's in the administration president's hands. So we can't base our decisions on that. It's up to him to decide whether we do that or whether he does that or not.
And that's why I'm saying, if you ask me what I would like to do, what would be best for the parish, is for us to go in that direction.
All right,
and then we kill 2 birds with 1 stone. However, it's up to you gentlemen to push it forward.
I think it's pretty obvious we have a lot of leeway going here, and I don't want to bring this up to the full council in these situations right here. Bill, I'd like for you to come back with some options and some proposals, and I would like to withdraw my motion and propose that you come back to us with some different options that are viable or more viable. And Mr. Chairman, if you so wish, we could have a short special meeting right before the next council meeting so that we can address this issue, and I think we can move forward more positively. And I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Motion by Mr. Shea Snyder to call a special meeting, which we really don't need a motion, but we'll handle it anyway. Second by Mr. Lambert. Any objection? Motion carries. Ms. Simmons, if you don't mind, put this on the agenda for the next council meeting, and if we get it resolved, we won't hold up the project. We can handle it at the council meeting. If not, we'll ask Chairman Valentine to pass. Just a comment before we get off of it. Let's not lose focus of what the council thought was a great idea when we first got elected. We had a lot of problems with construction and finger pointing here and there, and we decided to bring in URS for our inspections and our oversight. And let's not lose focus of that. If URS's numbers are in line with what's customary in the construction field, then I think we should seriously take a look at finding the money and doing the project right. In the long run, I think it'll save us money. We won't have finger pointing and lawsuits and things like we've done in the past, and I just think the jobs go a lot smoother. So anyway, that's my 2 cents, and if we don't have any other comments, we'll move on. Thank you, Mr. Israel. 5, update on the STAG grant. Is
I'm going to let Mr. Miro ask.
6, excuse me, 6, update on the STAG grant.
I'm Roland Miro with Hartman Engineering. Reporting on the STAG grant, Gene Watson with EPA Region 6 informed the Corps of Engineers recently that the EPA has completed their review of the EID document. It's in their process for signature by the powers to be in Dallas. They are writing what's called the FONSI, Finding of No Significant Impact. EPA will send out their own mailing to the public notice with their own mailing list, and from that there's a 30-day period from which they will receive comments. So the good news is that it is moving through the EPA process in Dallas. And the 30-day period will be from, that's probably most likely from the time that the document is mailed. The public notice is mailed out. And after that, the parish would be notified. I can answer any questions.
Any questions, comments?
Wait, there's one more.
Oh, Mr. Shakespeare, I knew we couldn't get away with it.
And what is customary when you get to this point? I mean, does it...
Well, there'll be money from the grant available for the 4 projects.
But usually the 30-day period, if anybody writes any contesting information or anything, does it go back into the...
It depends on, I can't say definite, but it depends on what the comment is. They would probably have to think about it, and if it's minimal, they could act on it, or they could come back and ask the parish through the Corps of Engineers for more information.
Okay. We're just looking for a realistic end to this saga.
Well, it was good news when I got a call from Gene Watson saying that the EPA has finished their review process. Because last month I reported that I had no good news, and this time he's calling to say things are moving.
Well,
and that it's going in for signature.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you, sir.
Okay.
7, discussion of the jail study.
Well, we have a couple issues with that. One is the expropriation of land and for the addition of the jail. And the other part of it, and that's in litigation, or at least it's in an attorney's hands. All the paper has been delivered to them by right-of-way acquisition agents. The other part of it has to do with the wastewater of the jail, wastewater system for the jail and our surrounding area. And that is, I think the last thing is requested of us is to get a commitment from the town of Donaldsonville, from the mayor and the council, as to exactly what they're willing to offer and what the rates would be. And I'm going to ask Mr. Shaheen to comment on the last meeting that was held between the mayor and representatives of the parish.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Utilities Committee. I apologize, but only brought 4 copies of the document. If somebody doesn't mind sharing one. What I've passed out to you, the map that we passed out is kind of identifies the various phases of that project that we developed cost for previously. That was submitted some time ago, back in December, I guess. And the next step was to try to get, of course, the recommendation was to develop the infrastructure and to utilize the city of Donaldsonville's wastewater treatment plant for treatment. And in that concept, we would buy capacity in their treatment plant. And then, of course, there would be various user charges associated with utilizing that facility. The second document that you have is a revised conceptual agreement. We met with the city of Donaldsonville, along with Mr. Kent Israel and Mr. Richard Murley, as well as Mr. Barry Smiley with the parish, representing the parish, to discuss that concept. And basically the concept is twofold. One is you've got operation and maintenance of the collection system, and then, of course, you've got the treatment requirements for the wastewater treatment plant. And the proposal, as you see, it's dated February 13th, which is today. That's the revised document, and that was revised based on the meeting that we had with the city of Donaldsonville and these representatives. But the first item is capacity acquisition, and we're projecting that the capacity acquisition would cost about $1 a gallon. And I won't go into those details. If you want, I can. But basically, is to acquire the capacity for the first phase of the project, which would include the jail. The facilities that we're proposing there is a pump station and a force main, which would accommodate all the various phases that you see on the map that we earlier passed out. The second part of the proposal is operation and maintenance, and there are actually 2 components to that. One would be if the parish opted to allow the city of Donaldsonville to operate and maintain the facility. What the city of Donaldsonville would agree to do would be to charge the users in that system the same user rates that they currently charge their customer base, those people who currently have sewer facilities or sewer service by the city of Donaldsonville. The city would operate and maintain the facilities. They do the billing and the collection. They would repair the pumps, replace them, repair lines, and so forth, install services as part of their operation and maintenance service for the system. Item B under that section, operation and maintenance, if the parish decided that it wanted to operate and maintain the system, the collection system, and wanted to utilize the city of Donaldsonville's wastewater treatment plant for treatment, then the parish would pay to the city of Donaldsonville $1.72 per 1,000 gallons of water treated by that wastewater treatment plant. There's one little caveat to that. We estimate that there, and this probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense to you guys, but from an engineering perspective, we estimate that the biological loading, which is the actual biological treatment requirements for wastewater flow from the jail, is probably going to be substantially higher than what you might have coming from a strictly a residential customer. And what we would like to do in our discussions with Richard and Kent and the city of Donaldsonville is that Barry is going to evaluate what that biological requirement is. There may be some adjustment for the flow from the jail because it's going to require some additional treatment because of that higher biological loading. But that number would be adjusted based on the information that Barry would collect, and we would sit down with URS and the city of Donaldsonville and figure out exactly what that number is. But for a typical residential customer, we don't expect that loading to be high. That $1.72 per 1,000 gallons would be effective there. Go back up to item 2A, the very last paragraph in that segment. If you allow the city of Donaldsonville to operate and maintain the system, and they charge the user rates that they currently charge their customers, we estimate that the average customer uses about 8,000 gallons of water a month, that their monthly user bill would be about $28.75 per month. If the city of Donaldsonville, if you allowed them to provide the operation and maintenance to the system, there would be no treatment cost. That item B goes away. That treatment cost is included in the user rates that they charge the customers. So you would not have that treatment cost component on top of that operation and maintenance cost. That's I guess the agreement in principle. Unfortunately, the city of Donaldsonville is currently meeting. I think they met at 6 o'clock this evening, and this item is scheduled to be on their agenda for discussion. We attempted to get it on the last agenda, but we got it to the mayor at the last minute, and they had a rather lengthy meeting, and he opted not to ask the council to put it on the agenda by a 2/3 vote, so it's before the council, City of Donaldsonville Council, as we speak. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Questions, comments? Mr. Shakespeare?
Yes, you said capacity acquisition.
Right.
And how much is this going to cost?
If Ken, I apologize. I did not bring the original cost estimates that we did, but we estimated for phase 1, and I can get you these cost estimates, get copies for you tomorrow. I'll be happy to get them to you. The capacity acquisition for the first phase, which was included in the cost estimate that we prepared for you and submitted to you, was $169,400, and that's what the first phase of this project. We estimate you're only going to generate about 119,000 gallons worth of flow to the treatment plant, but when you adjust the flow for the higher biological loadings, you're actually acquiring 169,000 gallons worth of capacity a day in the city of Donaldsonville's plant. The city of Donaldsonville's facility is a 1.5 million gallon per day facility. They currently see about, they typically generate about half of that. So they're seeing about 750,000 gallons to 800,000 gallons of flow to their plant a day. Right. So they've got adequate capacity to allow this system to come into it.
Okay. Now what you're telling us is that anytime we add a group of people that's going to tie into the city of Donaldsonville's sewer system, they're going to pay a capacity acquisition.
You'll buy the capacity.
They're going to buy it.
That's correct.
We're going to buy that.
Right.
Besides, and we're going to pay for installation of any piping and anything like that to get to there. All right?
Correct.
So the first phase is what? From the jail plus the 100 beds or the current capacity of the jail?
Hang on one second. Let me, the capacity of the jail was, I think, was 268.
It's the expanded capacity of the jail.
Expanded capacity. It's 268.
That's for the 100 extra beds that was proposed?
That's correct.
So that's $268,000?
No, the acquisition cost was $169,400. but the actual number of beds are 268 beds. So
Okay.
we've included the expansion of the jail in these cost estimates.
All right, so it's about $170,000 for the
Correct.
jail. If the jail expands further, which is talked about in the
Correct.
proposal, what it looked like, it'll be close to double that.
Correct. And then we would adjust.
And that's for the jail. Then if we take in Lemonville, then we would add costs, capacity costs that we would pay to the jail, and if we would add
That value
any of the
includes Lemonville.
what's that?
That $169,000 includes Lemonville.
It includes
Right.
the jail and Lemonville.
Yes,
Okay, but anything else would be added.
correct.
That's correct.
I just want to get
Over and above the 280-something or 60-something beds, whatever it is. I think actually we were calculating 264 beds.
Mr. Chance, can you come up to the mic, please?
I guess what I'm getting at, I would like to see a proposal, what it's going to actually cost us to go to Donaldsonville. And
Right.
if with the jail and then the proposals, or what is going to end up being the two proposals for expansion, and then the surrounding communities, how much would it cost the
Right.
existing communities, not anything else, if we would do that.
Okay.
And that will be just for acquiring the extra capacity at the jail. You know, that's over and above any construction costs we would have for the system that we would do. All right. Then, after that, then the individuals, and I guess, would pay about $28.75 a month.
I'm sorry,
Excuse
Ken.
me.
Then we would pay $28.75 a month.
That's correct.
No, the user would pay
Average.
$28.
Yeah.
Yes.
That would not be a cost to the parish. That would be a cost to the user.
All right, and who's going to collect that?
Well, if the under the proposal for the city, if you allow the city to operate and maintain it, they would bill it and collect it. The parish would not have any administrative responsibility toward the operation and the maintenance of that system. Now, if you decide that if the parish wants to do the operation and maintenance, then of course we need to sit and talk about what arrangement do we want to make. Does the parish want to do the billing and the collection, the operation, the maintenance, billing and the collection? Do you want someone else to do that? Do you want to contract that service out? Our recommendation was to allow the city of Donaldsonville to do it. They currently have the customer services in place. They've got equipment, they've got manpower, and they have the certifications to operate and maintain the system, because they currently do it within their city limits. That's an option if the parish wants
How would
to.
they know? This is based on gallons out per 1,000 gallons. How would they know the user? They're not running water out in the parish. That's a separate entity.
That's correct.
How would they know?
Yeah, initially what would happen, Kent, would be that the currently what the city of Donaldsonville does, and if Ascension Parish decided to do the billing and the collection, they would probably have to do the same thing. Currently what happens is the city is always a month behind on their billing, and the reason for that is that they get the consumption records from the water company, and then the city of Donaldsonville takes those water consumption records, and then they calculate their sewer billings based on that water consumption. And the parish would do likewise, unless you decided you wanted to charge a flat fee. I mean, that's always an option as well. We find that sometimes when you charge a flat fee, that allows for some misuse and of the system when people don't get charged for those additional gallons of water that they dump into the sewer system. But those are options. One thing that we put in our proposal, if you look at the bottom of, let's see, the bottom of Section 2A, there's still a couple of issues that need to be resolved. One is franchise fees, and we know that the parish franchised the water district there, water district on the West Bank relative to utilities systems. To my knowledge, I'm not aware of any franchise fees that the water district has proposed to charge. But if there is a franchise fee there, then of course that would be tacked on to whatever the billing rates. If there are any administrative costs, for instance, if the parish, if someone else did the billing and the collection outside of the parish or the city of Donaldsonville, then there may be some administrative costs for that billing and collection of those revenues. That's an item that needs to be discussed. We're not aware of any administrative fees under the alternative that we're proposing or we've identified in 2A of this letter. So those are some considerations that the parish would have to make in deciding which direction you want to go in.
Okay. I would just like you to get me the total cost of everything in hard dollars.
But we can do that.
And Bill, who was representing the parish at this meeting?
Barry.
URS was representing the parish.
Okay, good. Mr. Israel?
Yes, correct.
Can you give us a report from the parish standpoint?
Basically, what Ms. Shaheen said was pretty well correct. I mean, as far as we were concerned, our basic recommendation would be to let this sewer go to the city of Donaldsonville facility. From what I understand, the parish doesn't want to get into the sewer business on the West Bank. We can work.
And that's what I'm trying to understand, because it keeps saying that we don't want to get into the sewer business too much on the East Bank, but we're building a comprehensive sewer system, and we're complaining because we have to bill because we don't have water system on the East Bank, and it's hard to bill without a system being in place, a water system, because it's hard to collect. We just passed a 10 mil property tax on the West Bank to install water system throughout basically the West Bank. And so it just makes perfectly good sense to me that we have all the right reasons to also get into the sewer business, that it does make sense and it does make money in the long run if you're going to have water and you have an opportunity to have sewer and run that. And so
but if the parish will have to hire, if they're going to do the operation and maintenance, they'll have to hire people to perform these duties.
Well, at some point in time, I would eventually, I mean, I wish we did now, we should have a utilities department, because we're just talking about spending $20 million on a comprehensive wastewater treatment plant on the East Bank. I don't see, and I know they can go across the bridge, so I don't see any reason why we can't operate treatment plants, more than one treatment plant in this parish. We already have more than one. And, you know, I just think we need to look at it from a little more global point of view within the parish. And what we're saying in one area we can do and we can't do in the other area we're saying we can't do. And
I'm taking the words of
I understand
of Mr. Smiley that DPW at this point in time did not want.
You know, at some point in time when EPA and everybody says, okay, Ascension Parish, you're responsible for sewage and discharge and everything, and all of these systems that may go bad and all of that, they're going to look at us no matter what, and we're going to be responsible for it. And so we need to take our responsibility and move forward with it. And
URS will prepare you with Mr. Shaheen a cost estimate of what the entire...
I mean, if it's going to cost us, and the last we were told that we could put in a plant that would discharge to the Mississippi River, and it would be a fairly reasonable cost from what we were told, that just on a packing plant that would take care of the jail and can be added on. What we're looking at doing acquisition costs to get to be allowed to go into the Donaldsonville system, plus what we're going to have to do for construction is going to be considerable. And so if that's the case, why shouldn't we collect the money in that?
So that's
and so that's
privilege
why
of the council.
I would like to get some true numbers and true comparisons as to exactly what we're looking at before we make a decision on this. And we don't have a whole lot of time because we've been kicking around this jail thing for a long time.
Any other comments?
Yeah.
Mr. Lambert.
Yeah, Mr. Shakes, now I understand your frustration there, but it wasn't that long ago the sheriff was right here in front of us. They in a mad rush over there with this expanding the jail. I see Mr. Oliver Joseph out in the audience there with the city wanting to take this over. I mean, I know it's a quick fix, but we're going to need to move on it pretty quick. And if Mr. Oliver Joseph would have anything from the ACUD, I'd appreciate any comment on that.
Yeah, I do understand what Mr. Kent Shakes and I do say about the sewage system, but the city of Donaldsonville, if I'm not mistaken there, you can correct me there, Glenn, they have about 35 acres available to run the whole west side of the river for sewage treatment plant. I hear you trying to run on the east side with 30 acres to run the whole east side would have about 80,000 people. You know, that land is already available. It will be there. It will be mandated. I mean, operated. It's wise from my point of view, to let the city of Donaldsonville run that system. I mean, the cost of it up front, yeah, but after you put the cost in it, it's not your responsibility anymore. It's the city of Donaldsonville. And if they're willing to take that responsibility, fine. You gave them the responsibility a couple of years ago with Modesto. Well, not Modesto, Smoke Bin. They currently run that whole operation there. You put up the money up front with that, and now they're running and operating it. And they're doing a great job of it. So, I mean, from a West point of view and representing the West Side and ACUD 1, I mean, the cost of it in here long term will save you the money. You know, they already have a dispersant out to the Mississippi River. It's only 2 miles away. And those engineers in the DPW had looked at it and came up with this proposal. We had these two proposals online before, and this is the proposal they came up with. I mean, if you had my opinion, I'm in favor of the opinion of those people that right now it's going to the city of Donaldsonville long term. Plus the sheriff need their sewer system up and operating. And I don't know, EPA been getting on us, Mr. Smiley?
At this time, we're at our max. We cannot withstand another gallon of water.
So the longer we sit around here and trying to figure out what it is, and we do have a solution, it's best for us to get on board with it right now, huh?
That's correct.
Okay, that's my recommendation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Shakes now?
Well, and that seems to be, and this might not be comparing apples to apples, but that seems to be what has been happening in the parish in the past 25 years, is that we found an easy solution for the water on the East Bank, and such comes in and takes care of water. We didn't want to take up that responsibility. And now we're being held hostage by the different water companies, and we're not in the water business, and we're approaching 100,000 people in this parish. And if we would have taken over it when we could have, we would be in very good shape with water on the East Bank, like we should have, and everybody said we should have, and now the costs have gotten prohibitive, and we're basically held hostage, whether we put fire hydrants or anything like that. And basically the same thing is happening right now with sewer. Either we step up to the plate and do what we're supposed to do, or eventually something's gonna happen. And if we're gonna have a sewer department, we need to take a look at taking sewer all throughout the parish. I'm not against this plan at all right now, but we don't have enough information to compare apples and apples. We have some figures that are out there, that says so much per thousand, but we need realistic figures. We also had at the last at a working meeting we had that we could, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Barringer, that we could put a packing plant in time for the projected jail opening, and that can be added on. So that would not be an issue, that we could apparently get this done at that time. I just want to see some information and see what it ends up having, because once we make this jump, once we decide to take the easier way, and it's obviously easier, let's just say we'll send it to Donaldsonville, that's easier. And once we do that, then we're committed, because we will not be able to get into the sewer business in the West Bank in this parish, and the parish will not take on its responsibility, and that concerns me.
Well,
yes.
And to remind you, the reason that it was this meeting was held at the last utility meeting, if you remember back, the request was made to get a commitment from the town of Donaldsonville, city of Donaldsonville, as per the rates and what it actually would cost, so we could use those numbers to now go back and put a real accurate comparison, because at that time it was just hearsay. And if you remember, that's the whole purpose of having this meeting, to get it ironclad, and it's going to the council tonight, hopefully this afternoon. And so we'll know exactly what the conditions the city will have, and now we can use those numbers to give you some comparisons.
And you can give us some hard numbers
Right.
and comparisons for that and the futures. Okay. And is there any commitments to any futures down the line, or the adjustments and everything can? I mean, we can't predict anything down the line. There's no length of term as far as the commitment that's being made by Donaldson.
No, it would be a long-term commitment. It has to be, with certain things built into it. I guess increases built in, but that's all has to be agreed with. The main thing is to look at the raw numbers, and so we can add it up and look over a 20-year period exactly which is best for the parish, going one way or going the other. And now we have those numbers. Hopefully we'll have the numbers directly from the city council, and we can provide that information to you.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments? Mr. Savoy?
Yeah, I apologize for being a little behind on the scope of this project. Y'all been working on this for quite some time now. I'm not sure how long, but I've been hearing about it for quite some time. First thing I want to say is be interested in seeing what comes out of the city of Donaldsonville's meeting tonight. So if we could get that information forward to us as soon as possible, as far as what they determine or what they decide to do, we need that information. Let me ask the question to the board members, to the committee members. Why did this come to be? How did this project, from the very beginning, why did it come up?
It was originally in the stag grant because we knew we had a jail problem. At one time was out of compliance.
Okay,
And
that's what I thought. It
yeah.
originally came because of the jail overcrowding and expansion situation that we're dealing with.
No, originally because we was out of compliance.
Out of compliance, and we had to look into
Right.
either improving the existing system or putting in a new one.
A new one. And then with the expansion, it became a little bit more.
And then as leaders of the parish, we
Important.
want to expand our horizon to see what we would want it to look like 20 years from now. That's how we got from taking care of just the jail to trying to incorporate a larger area.
Correct.
And go into the sewer business possibly.
But that was
Just
one of
utilizing-
the ways that they had proposed to solving just the jail problem, was to pump that to Donaldsonville. That was one of the first proposals.
Okay. Well,
So that was an original option.
and we've been kicking around ideas here, back and forth, back and forth. Now we already got an architect that's designing the jail expansion, moving forward. Okay, and we're behind on the sewer. Now, Mr. Smiley just said that they can't take another gallon. Now we got at least another 100 beds coming. We know at least 100, and possibility of 300. All right, so we are in a crisis situation as far as the jailhouse expansion meeting up with the sewer needs. All right. we do know, because we did crunch some numbers, that we could possibly go after a bond to go with the 300-bed expansion, and even bond a little bit for the sewer. But that's not going to take it from the jail all the way here. That money, we do not have the capability from a financial standpoint to do this. I really don't believe.
Well, we don't know what it is. That's what we're waiting on.
That's a problem. Waiting is a problem.
I understand that, but
all right, that's a serious concern that we got, a problem that we got. Second is how long, what's the distance, Glenn, what's the linear feet from the pumping station to the treatment plant?
It's about 16,000 feet. So it's about a little more than 3 miles.
I see the force main is a 6-inch. Is that 6-inch?
Actually, it's 8 inch. It's an 8 inch. That should be an 8 inch, not 6 inch on that.
Oh, all right. All right, because I mean the 6-inch threw me. I was going to question the 6-inch being a force main going 3 miles. Okay. When are we looking at getting some numbers, some dollar signs put together with this project right now?
Well, we have the numbers, the raw numbers all together. It needs to be put into a pro forma spreadsheet to just look at one against the other, and that's a fairly simple operation. It's not that difficult. Probably within a week we could have a pretty good pro forma review of the 3 alternatives, at least 3 alternatives.
All right, so
okay.
Can we have that forwarded to us?
We're gonna have that on the agenda Thursday before the next council meeting. At our special meeting, we're gonna take up this and also the Country Ridge.
But Mr. Chairman, I would like that information next week.
URS, excuse me, yeah, the Hill Reveal inspection.
I'd like to have that pro forma
Before.
next week, whenever he gets it, so that we'll have an opportunity to review it and look at it.
Before the meeting.
Before the meeting.
Okay.
Now, that's all I got.
Any other questions, comments?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Lambert, second by Mr. Shake Snyder. Meeting adjourned.
We've got the numbers.